The shroud of the dark side has fallen. Begun. The Clone War has.
Developed by Pandemic Studios, the same studio famous for the original Star Wars Battlefront games, released in late 2002 for PlayStation and GameCube and April 2003 for Xbox. Star Wars The Clone Wars takes place near the end of and shortly after Star Wars Episode II Attack of the Clones, beginning with the first battle of Geonosis. It's a game that is primarily focused on vehicle combat. While there is a lot of Star Wars games that are fondly remembered and loved, it seems like the Clone Wars, the original Clone Wars game anyway, has been almost forgotten. I don't see it mentioned very often online, but thanks to backwards compatibility on Xbox and this game being recently added, it can have a second life. And for a huge Star Wars fan like myself, it's always awesome to be able to revisit some childhood favorites. The Clone Wars was a game that I remembered playing a lot as a kid, and my friend and I would play multiplayer for hours and hours. I remember it being so much fun, but as new games came out, like Pandemic's own Star Wars Battlefront, it's a game that we just eventually stopped playing. But does it hold up today? Let's talk about it. The game begins on Geonosis. Before the battle in the arena, Windu and Luminara are clearing the way in some awesome TX-130 Saber-class fighter tanks. I did have some trouble on this mission. Luminara kept dying over and over, and it was getting really frustrating, but eventually I managed to finish the first level, and I gotta say the gameplay here is so much more fun than I ever would have thought. I was shocked. Being in the tank is so much fun, and throughout the game you have several different vehicles that you would take control of. They all have their own quirks, but they are all super fun to control. If there's one thing this game nailed, it's the vehicle controls. They're super responsive and fun to use.
I just wish something exciting would happen around here.
Be careful what you wish for.
My favorite missions were always the ones in the Republic gunship. This is my favorite vehicle in Star Wars, and it's so awesome to be flying around in it. And the levels actually do a really good job of conveying these giant battles taking place, and I continued to be impressed by this game as I was playing. You also have a section on speeder bikes, and another great part in the game when you were on a moon of Kashyyyk and used these animals with dual bowcasters. The different environments were also really great to see. For some reason in my head, I thought this entire game took place on Geonosis, but it definitely does not. You visit some diverse environments, and my favorite was the last couple of missions. Loved the look and atmosphere of this place. This game definitely has some challenging sections. I don't even want to admit how many times I replayed this one part. I stopped recording because it was just going to be a bunch of footage of me dying over and over. You do have pickups in the game. Health, more missiles, and some special pickups like invincibility, super blasters, but the special ones only last for a short time.
Dooku, I'm gonna make you pay for what you've done.
Ah, young Skywalker.
You do also have some very light squad mechanics. In some missions you will have teammates that you can give orders to attack, defend, break apart, and in some of the more intense sections they are very helpful for taking down some tough enemies. What I was most surprised to see was that you actually have third-person Jedi combat. Now it definitely is a bit clunky, but I appreciated it, and it was more than playable. You can tell the focus on this game was put into the vehicle combat though. It's definitely still fun. I really loved running around as a Jedi, but it's just so interesting to look back at where we were back in 2002 and 3 compared to where games are at now when you play as a Jedi. There is also a multiplayer mode. Because I don't have any friends, I didn't play it, but I remember it being a ton of fun back in the day. If you have a friend willing to come over and play split screen like we did in the wee olden days, it will definitely be a lot of fun. Now, we have established that the gameplay is super fun, but how is the story? While it's not anything super amazing, I was again surprised by the story. I thought it was actually pretty interesting, and towards the end had some really good foreshadowing for the future. The performances weren't exactly the best.
Count Dooku. He's here.
Anakin, wait!
But it's definitely passable for a 2002 game. So, not to give away too much of the basic story,
During the Great Sith War, our enemies constructed a weapon so powerful no army could stand against it. It was known as the Dark Reaper.
we have a weapon of mass destruction and need to destroy it. I did have a couple of technical issues. Every time we see a character's face, there is this weird darkness around their head. Starting with the mission on Keshik's moon, I lost the sound effect of firing a blaster for a bit, and it didn't return until we went to a different planet. Also, if you run into anything while flying the gunship, you'll immediately just flip around and start going backwards. Nothing major or game breaking though. Each mission has bonus objectives. Completing these will unlock more maps and multiplayer, concept art and character models, and behind the scenes video. So it gives some good incentives to go back through the game and try and complete every objective. This was also a pretty short game, not taking more than maybe 5 to 6 hours to finish the campaign, but the game is only $9.99 for a digital purchase, and even cheaper if you can find an old physical copy on eBay or somewhere. And I'd say if you were a Star Wars fan that likes the prequels and the Clone Wars era, or you grew up playing these games, it's definitely worth getting and playing. It's so much fun, and I'm glad that we can all play it again. If you have an Xbox Series X or S, you can even play with FPS boost, so it's probably the best way to play the game today. If you've played it, let me know what you thought, or what is your favorite Star Wars game? Let me know down below.
You've grown more powerful. I only did what I had to.